How good is the DJI Pocket 4P camera against Sony ZV-e10 Mark II with a kit lens? And they cost approximately the same. Let's take a closer look.
And can you guess which camera is which? The Sony is on the left and the DJI Pocket 4P is on the right. Here's another example. Can you guess which one is which? We're now using a telephoto mode on the kit lens on the Sony and the 3x camera. And this time the Pocket is on the left side and the Sony is on the right side. And the image quality and colors are really close between those cameras. Here is a different example at 1x camera on the Pocket 4P, and 3, 2, 1 we have Sony at the left and DJI Pocket 4P in D-Log 2 on the right. As you can tell, S-Log 3 and D-Log 2, and we can get pretty close images. Also, here it is at clear image zoom mode with the Sony camera and 50mm compared to 6x digital mode on the Pocket 4P, and it's looking not as crisp. We also have 12x zoom, but it's looking pretty soft. Now we're taking a quick look at the photos. We have 24 megapixels on the ZV-10 Mark II and also 33 megapixel mode on the Pocket 4P. We're comparing JPEGs. In terms of colors, I would prefer the colors from Sony. They look a bit more natural. And when we zoom into 400%, we can say that the DJI is applying a little bit of sharpening and noise reduction to the JPEGs, but I still can see some noise in the sky. And on the Sony, the kit lens isn't the sharpest one, but still the results are pretty good. And right now we have switched to 50mm and f5.6 with the kit lens, and it's the brightest aperture at this focal length, and also to 3x camera and 33 megapixels on the Pocket 4P. The Pocket 4P is having slightly different colors, but the image in general is looking pretty good, and we have a little more sharpening being applied to the Pocket 4P JPEG photo.
And guys, in terms of size and weight, the Sony ZV-10 Mark II is one of the most compact Sony cameras, especially with the kit lens 16-50 from Sony Mark II, and also it weighs around 500 grams with the built-in battery and memory card, whereas the Pocket 4P is around 250-260 grams, which is 2 times lighter. It's also more pocketable, obviously, because it's a pocket camera. And yeah, guys, the Sony camera is really good in terms of compactness and overall dimensions and weight, and it won't make huge difference, but still the Pocket is winning here. And right now, guys, I'm using the optical steady shot in the lens because the Sony ZV-e10 Mark II does not have IBIS system, so we don't have any sensor stabilization, and we're now only relying to the optical steady shot in the tiny lens. And on the Pocket 4P, obviously, we have a 3-axis gimbal, and it's much more stable, as you can tell from those examples. And if I try to run or just go a bit faster, you'll see how much more shaky the footage is on the Sony ZV-10 Mark II compared to the Pocket 4P. So for the Sony ZV-10 Mark II, I would highly recommend using something like a 3-axis gimbal or a tripod or a monopod, and shooting with this camera handheld video is not the best choice.
And here is one more example of stabilization of only OSS in the lens compared to DJI Pocket 4P, and the difference is super obvious.
But guys, the Sony ZV-e10 Mark II has electronic image stabilization, so it crops in a lot into the image. As you can tell, it's now much tighter, but it has slightly better performance in terms of stability because you have the electronic stabilization being applied as well. And plus, guys, you can also use digital gyroscopic data, and you can use Gyroflow or Catalyst Browse software, but you'll also be cropping into the footage slightly, and you need to use very short shutter speeds not to get the artifacts of digital stabilization. So in general, I would say that a huge win goes to Pocket 4P.
And here is a different example: active steady shot, OSS in the lens, and still we're not getting smooth footage with the Sony camera compared to DJI Pocket 4P, which is simply gliding through the air.
And guys, in terms of bokeh or background separation, the Sony ZV-10 Mark II with a kit lens at 16mm has the aperture of f3.5 and the full frame equivalent of 24mm, and the background blur equivalent of about f5 to f5.6. Not a lot of bokeh, as you can tell. On the Pocket 4P on 1x camera, we have the aperture of f2, but the crop factor is 2.7x, 1-inch sensor, and the bokeh is an equivalent of about, let me say, f5.6 on the full frame camera and 20mm focal length. And guys, at 50mm, the kit lens 16-50 from Sony is giving us 75mm full frame equivalent, 50mm right now on the lens, but the aperture has stopped down to f5.6, and if we multiply the aperture value by the crop factor, we'll get around f8 background blur and separation in full frame equivalent, whereas the Pocket 4P is now at 60mm full frame equivalent, 3x lens, and due to the crop factor, we have around f6 aperture background blur, but the same aperture in terms of light transmission, of course, so we have even slightly more blur and separation on the Pocket 4P 3x camera. And guys, a few words about battery life and overheating. The Sony ZV-10 Mark II has about 2 hours of battery life in 4K 25p, but it does overheat, and if it is hotter than 23 Celsius, you'll definitely need a cooler if you plan to record for longer periods of time. And guys, the Pocket 4P was able to record for around 2.5 hours in 4K 50 frames per second at 32 Celsius here in Valencia in very hot weather, and in this regard the Pocket 4P is much more stable and reliable, and for the Sony ZV-10 you'll definitely need an external cooler, preferably with the Peltier element, so it will work continuously even in hotter conditions for longer periods of time. And here is an extreme dynamic range test. I'm using S-Log3 on the Sony ZV-10 Mark II and the D-Log2 at ISO 400 on the Pocket 4P, and I'm exposed for my skin, and you can now see what's behind me. Let me go out of the frame so you can see the frame better, and it's pretty dark in this hallway. And now let me get back, and here it is. So I am now exposed with the direct sunlight, and this is the dynamic range that you get with those cameras. I'm shooting at ISO 800 with the Sony ZV-10 Mark II, which is the native ISO of this camera, and in S-Log3 we get around 12 stops of dynamic range, and the Pocket 4P is said to be 17 stops of dynamic range, which is not, but it's close to maybe 13 stops of clean dynamic range. So this is what you get with those two cameras.
And here is one more example of the dynamic range of those two cameras. Pretty dimly lit street with very dark areas of the shade, and a very brightly lit building with white color. And as you can tell guys, we have very close and similar dynamic range situation. In my opinion, it's really close to 12, maybe 12.5 stops on both cameras. And now let's pixel peep a little bit. So on the Pocket 4P I can tell that we have slightly blown out highlights. I don't see a lot of details in this white area, and in terms of the shadow area I can also see slightly more noise with the Pocket 4P using D-Log2. I'm using ISO 400, ISO 100 would be slightly cleaner, but a lot of people stated that the D-Log2 has to be used at least at ISO 400.
And guys, here is the audio quality that you get with built-in microphones. I'm right now standing at arm's length from the DJI Pocket 4P. 1, 2, 3 mic check. You're now listening to this microphone, and this is the microphone of the Sony ZV-e10. It has a pretty advanced microphone system with a directional pattern, which is now directed towards me. 1, 2, 3 mic check. Sony ZV-10 Mark II built-in microphone. I guess both sound okay, and I'm more than satisfied with the results, but of course guys, you'd better use a DJI Mic Mini 2 with the Pocket 4P. In block combo it comes with this microphone, but it doesn't have a built-in 32-bit float, so you have to be careful, and you can get occasional audio drops, but you have the redundant backup in the DJI Pocket 4P's internal microphone if you set up this function. And also on the Sony I would prefer to use a DAC cat on top of the microphone, or a third-party microphone like the Rode Wireless Pro. So now let's take a listen to those external microphones. And right now you're listening to the Rode Wireless Pro microphone wirelessly connected to the Sony ZV-e10. 1, 2, 3 mic check. By the way, the Rode is very expensive. It's around $400, but it's a great microphone with built-in 32-bit float. Right now, guys, you're hearing Pocket 4P with the DJI Mic Mini 2, which is in the vlog combo kit. 1, 2, 3 mic check. 1, 2, 3 mic check. And by the way, guys, you've been hearing this particular microphone from DJI throughout the entire review. And speaking of accessories, guys, obviously for the Sony ZV-10 Mark II you can use a ton, hundreds of different lenses, vintage lenses, telephoto lenses, ultra-wide lenses, every lens possible almost on the market for the Sony E. And also, guys, for the Sony ZV-10 Mark II you can use gimbals, sliders, monopods, tripods, ND filters. With the Pocket 4P we have this remote control, which is really nice. As you can tell, I can control the camera right here. I can also go into the 3x mode, and here it is at 3x. I can also double tap on myself, and we can have enabled the active track. As you can see, it works flawlessly. Also, we have the ND filters. Right now I'm using the Freewell ND, ND8 in this regard, and we have many different filters from Freewell for Pocket 4P, but we don't have external lenses, so you're basically stuck to 1x camera, 3x camera, and the crops, which is not perfect. And also in the vlog combo you get the light, the special magnetic light, which attaches to the Pocket 4P camera. It's okay, but I'm not using it actually, but it is in the kit as well. So not as many accessories. You have different grip accessories for the Pocket 4P as well, but it's not as fancy and not as universal as for the cameras, obviously, mirrorless cameras. And guys, since I've talked about active track, it is not super smooth in my experience, so let me turn it on and let's try to track myself, like right here. For example, I can go behind the tree and it still tracks me. Yep, it does still track me. And by the way, this camera has a limit when you go, oh yeah, and it lost me. Yeah, it's not working flawlessly. So let me try to go once again. And yeah, there it is, but it has a limit on the left side of the gimbal. So when I go to the left side of the gimbal, it is going to stop at one point. Yes, here you go. This is the limit of the gimbal. And now let me get back. And you can reframe yourself as well a little bit. So let's go to 3x. And at 3x, it is also a little jerky in my opinion. So it's not tracking me super flawlessly. It's fine. Maybe with the future firmware updates, they'll improve this. But as for now, I don't really dig the tracking capabilities when it's this jerky. So now let's go behind the tree once again with the 3x camera and see if it can track me behind the tree. And there you go. Yeah, it does track me. And let's get back. It lost me for a little bit. Yeah, and it's now back on track. So it is nice to have this function, but I hope DJI will improve it with the future firmware updates. And on the Sony ZV-e10, you basically have to buy a separate device like a 3-axis gimbal with tracking module. DJI does make one, and as for now, as you can tell, it doesn't track me at all.
And also guys, let's compare slow motion capabilities. On DJI Pocket 4P we're having 4K at 240 frames per second in normal color mode, so no D-Log for the super slow motion. And on the Sony ZV-10 Mark II we have slow motion at up to 4K 120 frames per second, but with an additional 1.5x approximately crop. And as you can tell, the image quality in normal color mode on the DJI is not great.
And guys, in terms of the storage, the Sony ZV-10 Mark II uses SD cards and it has only one SD card, so no redundant backup at all. And the Pocket 4P is using the built-in memory, more than 100 gigabytes by the way, and it also can accept micro SD cards, but you cannot record redundant backup. So in this regard, it's better to have built-in storage obviously, but you don't have redundant backup on both cameras. And by the way guys, as you can tell, we can mix and match those cameras in S-Log3 and D-Log. I'm using 3x camera and 60mm full frame equivalent on the Pocket 4P right now, and I'm using 16mm, which is 24mm full frame equivalent on the ZV-e10, and I can mix and match the footage between those two cameras with the stock LUTs from DJI and Sony. It matches pretty closely. And a few words about the screens. Obviously, the Sony ZV-10 Mark II has much larger screen, but it's also not super bright. I would say it's dim in direct sunlight, and the Pocket 4P has the special sunny weather mode as well, but it's not super dim, as you can tell. And on distances like the hand distance, it's okay to see this tiny screen, but on further distances it's simply not useful. So for this purpose you can use your iPhone with the DJI Mimo app, and you can control the Pocket 4P with the Mimo app as well, and you'll see a bigger picture. And on the Sony we have the Sony Monitor and Control and the Sony Monitor Plus, not Sony, just Monitor Plus app, in which you can also monitor the footage remotely and you can change the settings. And do you remember guys that I said that you can use different lenses on the Sony ZV-10 Mark II? For example, right here I'm using the Sigma 17 to 40mm f1.8 lens, and this is what you get in terms of background blur and separation at f1.8 with this camera and this lens combination. And also you can zoom in at 40mm and get this amount of background blur and separation, which looks really cool. On the Pocket 4P you obviously cannot use any other lenses, but on the Sony you're free to purchase different ones. Of course this lens is as expensive as this camera in general, but you can get some third-party glass, you can get pretty cheap ones from Viltrox, for example. You can also use wider lenses like the Viltrox 9mm lens, which is super wide, it's around 14mm full frame equivalent. So you are free to choose your focal length, your apertures. You can use super telephoto lenses as well, and on the Pocket 4P you're stuck to those cameras.
And right now we're taking a look at the low light capabilities. We're now having ISO 16000 on the Sony camera versus 3200 on the DJI Pocket 4P, and when we zoom into 400% scale we can see that we have more details on the Sony camera and more noise as well, and on the DJI we have a very aggressive noise reduction being applied. Up next we have 50mm f5.6 and ISO 32 2000 compared to ISO 3200 on the Pocket 4P, and still the images look more or less comparable without pixel peeping. Of course, on the Sony it looks a bit more noisy, but it retains more detail, and if you were to denoise it in post with Neat Video plugin, for example, you would get better results with the Sony camera compared to already being denoised footage on the Pocket 4P. And also the Pocket 4P has a night mode, and let's use the f1.8 lens on the Sony ZV-10 Mark II and ISO 6400, and as you can tell we have much cleaner, much better results with the Sony, less image processing, the image doesn't look as plasticky as it does with the night mode on the Pocket 4P. But if you need a noise-free image and if you're okay with the image looking slightly plasticky and unnatural with a ton of noise reduction and sharpening being applied on top, I would say that the night mode is a very easy way to get pretty decent image. But you'll lose a lot of details in this mode.
And one more very important advantage of the DJI Pocket 4P, guys, is that you can take it to different places and locations like this oceanographic museum in Valencia or to a concert, whereas with this compact camera like the Sony ZV-10 Mark II, you can get into troubles and you'll have to keep this in a safe place somewhere, and you won't be allowed to go on a concert or to different venues with a camera because it's a proper camera. And for some people, like security guys, it is crucial and important not to allow you with such cameras. So the Pocket 4P takes another advantage in this regard. And guys, in terms of the pricing, the DJI Pocket 4P is around $650 for the main kit, and for the vlog combo is closer to $1,000. And the Sony ZV-e10 Mark II with the kit lens is around $1,100. So definitely more of a parallel pricing, let me say, and the Sony ZV-e10 is slightly more expensive, but it has more room to play around with different lenses. And the DJI Pocket 4P, by the way, is not available in the US, which is a little bummer. And in Europe, it's also not everywhere it is available, because I got mine from China through a friend of a friend, and it got a little tricky, so you have to keep that in mind. Finally, guys, to conclude, the Sony ZV-10 Mark II is a great beginner camera for videographers. I don't think it's more of a camera for photographers because it doesn't have mechanical shutter and it has some limitations in terms of photos, but for video makers who want to grow together with the camera, it's a very nice option, especially considering pretty good image quality and that you can use this camera with different lenses and grow together with it. The Pocket 4P is really nice for a vlog style. It's really nice as a second camera. You saw that we can mix and match the D-Log footage and S-Log3 footage. So if you have already a Sony camera and you want to get the Pocket 4P for certain scenarios, and you can use this camera as a second camera, in this regard, yeah, it's a very nice option. In general, guys, I would say that those cameras have two different purposes and you can get stunning footage with both cameras. I can show you right now great footage with the Pocket 4P and super great footage with the Sony ZV-10 Mark II with anamorphic lenses, for example. But all in all, guys, I would say that you won't be wrong with picking any of those two cameras. If you did enjoy this video, smash the like and subscribe buttons and hit the notifications bell. And right here I have my full in-depth review of the Sony ZV-10 Mark II. See you in that video, guys. Take care. Bye.